Hello everyone, welcome to Chill and Code. This is Jagadish over here, and today we are going to dive into the magical world of Docker. If you have ever wondered what a Docker is, why it's so hyped, then stick around. By the end of this video, you will know all about Docker, images, containers, and much more. So let's jump in. First, let's talk about virtual machines. Imagine you are having a web app and it requires its own space to live. Then traditionally you would choose a virtual machine. A VM has its own operating systems, libraries, and everything else needed to run your app. And here's the catch. VMs are heavy. They take a lot of resources because they run full OS copies. Imagine you are running multiple applications. Each application would require its own VM. Every VM takes space, CPU, memory, and don't forget the time spent booting up the entire operating system. Docker said, why to run a full entire operating system when you can just package the application and necessary stuff which you require? Think of Docker like this. Instead of renting out an entire hotel room for each guest, Docker gives everyone a private cabin and shared facilities such as kitchen or the elevator. What does that mean for you? Containers, which are created for Dockers, are super lightweighted compared to virtual machines because containers don't require a full operating system. They just use the system resources, what they need, and share what they can. Let's talk about how this works behind the scenes. VMs run on top of a hypervisor. Each virtual machine requires its full operating system. The hypervisor acts as a manager, but it still requires lifting for each OS instance. And Docker uses container runtime engines to manage the containers. Container shares the host OS kernel, which makes them lighter and faster to start up. Here's a key difference. VMs are like renting the entire apartments, while Docker containers are like renting rooms in the house. You share the infrastructure, but still you get your own private space. So now let's go to the core of Docker, images and containers. These terms often get mixed up, so let's clear it up. An image is like a recipe or a blueprint for your app. It contains everything your app needs: code, dependencies, and configurations. But it does not run on its own. It's just like a recipe cannot magically become a dish. And a container is the running instance of the image. Think of it like taking out the recipe and cooking a dish. Containers are isolated environments where your application can be run, and they are super lightweighted because they share the host kernel and the resources. Let me give you a real time example. Imagine you're working on a project and it works perfectly fine on your laptop, but when you deploy it on a server, something breaks. Sounds familiar, right? So with Docker, you package everything into a container and ship that container to the server. Now it works the same everywhere. No more, but it worked on my machine moments. Speaking of images, where do you get them? That's where Docker Hub comes into the picture. Think of Docker Hub as an app store for your container images. Need a web server? Pull Nginx image. Need a SQL server? Pull MySQL image. That's how easy it is. So that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments if you're having any queries. Until next time, keep chilling, keep coding, keep containerizing. See you.